Sometimes it's as John's wife, sometimes it's Danny and Olivia's mom, sometimes it's the fan board, and today is actually my real job, which is the Director of Children and Youth Ministries for Community Presbyterian Church. I have been in that position now almost 3 years, and I remember when I first came on, Becky McKinney, who was my predecessor, moved on to the fire department, and the church, when she left, our knees were shaking because she did so many amazing things there. One of the amazing things is the trip I'm going to talk to you about today, the Mexico mission trip. When she first left, Travis, Bruce, our founders of the trip, looked around and said, "Michelle, do you know we're going to Mexico this year?" And I said, are you sure? In fact, I didn't really think we were going until we were about to Sacramento and realized, nope, we're doing this. So that first year we took about 30 people. Last year we took 64, and we're aiming for another good turnout this year. But let me tell you a little bit about the trip. We partner with a group called Amor Ministries out of San Diego. Amor has been in an organization for 32 years, and I believe the founders, their names, I want to make sure I get it right, Scott and Gayla Congdon. They had been down there visiting Tijuana orphanage and for many years, and they realized that the orphans weren't orphans because the families didn't want them. The orphans were orphans because the families couldn't house them or feed them. And so they realized that the biggest need down there was for housing. And so they created Amor, which goes down, which gets people like us to go down and help build houses for them. Currently, they build 500 homes annually in Mexico, South Africa, and for the San Carlos Apache families in Arizona. So 500 a year from that one little two people who have big hearts and a vision. So not only do they keep the families together by building the houses, it also protects the children from trafficking and also the elements. And you'd be surprised, some people think, oh, it's Mexico. But we have heard terrible stories about children dying of exposure, even in Tijuana and Baja. So it really is important that they have adequate housing. The real mission of Amor, and I'm going to read this because I want to make sure I get it right. They provide educational and mission experience that radically changes people. They eradicate spiritual and physical poverty in the places they serve. And they impact the future of the Christian church. And they do that through their mission work. So how does Amor work exactly? Well, Amor is out of San Diego, but they have found pastors in the areas that they help. And those pastors are the ones that identify the families in need. So they let them know, they buy the supplies, then they have us come down and do the labor. And in just a second, Bruce McElroy will tell you all about the process of building the houses. It's absolutely fascinating. So I'm really excited that he's here to do that because I'm a good worker, but I'm not the one that formans the projects. You know, often people, so when we go down, we go to Tecate, Mexico, which is a suburb of Tijuana, or by there, or we've also built in Rosarito, and I have not, but they have in the past because we have been doing this 11 years. Often people that hear about our trip, and I hope that you feel the same way after our discussion today, often the people who tell us, wow, you guys are amazing. It's so great of you to go down and help those people and help with their poverty. But I will tell you without a doubt that the people that go down to help are helped more by the families that we serve than being up here for a year serving. It is amazing the spiritual impact and the gift that they give us in just loving on them and building for them. So I want to make sure I have everything. So now Bruce McElroy is going to talk to you about the actual building of the house. Travis will talk about kind of the structure of our days and what the trip actually looks like. And then Daniel's going to talk about the impact it has on him. So we'll get started. Thank you, Bruce.
Thank you. Thank you for having us. I don't usually use one of those. We've been doing this for a number of years, and this is the mock-up of what we do. The way that Amor works is that we're able to build a house in 4 days for a family. And it doesn't look like much, but down there it's a palace. We have built for families of generally 3 generations living together. Grandparents, parents, and their kids. And sometimes there's more than one kid. So sometimes it's grandparents, kid, family, 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 family. The maximum amount of people that we've built, that I've personally built for, is we had an extended family of 12 living in a 1970s travel trailer on blocks. And then we give them an 11 by 22 foot house with a concrete floor, roof, buildings, doors that lock, and windows that lock. So they have security and shelter. The materials that we use are all outsourced locally from whatever community we're in, Tijuana, Tecate, or Rosarito. And we're not allowed to bring materials across the border other than our hand tools. And that's the fun part. The key word there is hand tools. I think originally for legal reasons, for liability reasons, they didn't allow power tools on the mission trips because you have kids who just graduated 8th grade, including my youngest who's going this year, and the thought of him with a power tool is scary. So a hand tool you can oftentimes hurt yourself but not others. And so everything is done by hand. We have a truckload of gravel and sand on there that we separate by hand, and to sand and gravel and mix the concrete by hand at about a 1/4 yard at a time. So in other words, 2 wheelbarrows at a time, we hand mix the concrete and then pour anywhere from a 4 to 6 inch slab across the base of the floor. That's after we level the ground. The pictures they're showing behind, sometimes I get lucky and turn around right when I need to, and not this time. So the sites that when we show up, the families that have been approved, have done some work where they've cleaned garbage out of the yard where they want the house to be. But most commonly the site is not level, so we have to level the ground, set the forms, and then pour the concrete. And then we construct the walls out of 2x4s. And this house is not complete, obviously, but it shows the different phases of construction. It's a 2x4 frame with a concrete floor, nothing but nails, no screws, no power tools. A lot of the young men and women that we take every year have never used a handsaw, have never used a hammer, let alone a tape measure. So there's a great learning curve, and it's one of the funnest things to see, because the satisfaction of anyone who's never done that before and then can pound a nail straight is just really gets you good. So we throw up the frame, put the roof on. The roof is a standard roof that would not sustain or would not handle an ice dam any better than ours here. We wrap the house in heavy-duty baling wire, and that gives the back support to the finish. The baling wire also sucks the house together. Over top of that, we lay down chicken wire, and it is chicken wire. It's chicken wire. It's what we use for chicken wire. But that's the ground or the base that we then mix sand and water and concrete dust to form stucco, and we put on stucco by hand. Now, occasionally, some of the families that we're working for are craftsmen or tradesmen in stucco, and they make their house look a lot better than we ever could. But the handiwork that goes into that is a life skill. Hammering and nailing and measuring and putting something together is a life skill. But it's a life skill that can't be learned quite as good as if you're under pressure and you have a bunch of people encouraging you and teasing you as you go. The work sites are a lot of fun. The pictures were all stopped, obviously. Most of us are stopping. Some of us work harder than others. Some of our family members work harder than others. But we have everyone from freshmen, boys and girls, all the way up to our returning high school graduates, our college kids that come back, and then we have older people that come as well. Myself, at age 49, Ed McKinney went this year, he was 76. And the idea behind the trip is that it's a youth mission. And if you look in all the pictures, you'll see that generally the adults look a lot fresher than the kids, and that's because the kids do the work. We help them, but we're not there to take the tool out of their hand. We're there to encourage them and show them how to use it. And it's a wonderful experience. I can't speak from the kids' side of it because I've only been going since I was an adult, but it is an incredibly fulfilling journey. That's the highlight of my year every year. I take really nice vacations, but this is my favorite week of the year. If you love teenagers, and you really want to see them at their best, you take them out of their element and have them do something fulfilling. And it really serves yourself well, knowing that the future and that your kids are good quality people. My son will be coming back this year for his 6th year. My daughter will be going for her 4th time. My youngest will be going for his 1st time. And when parents ask me, should I make my kid go? With each one of my kids, I've made them go the 1st year, and they've asked to go back after that. So I'm going to turn it over to Travis Dunne. I'm going to turn it over to Travis, and I'd love to have questions when we're done.
Oh, you're done.
Or now.
Just, you didn't mention, do you put a vapor barrier on the house? Is that what I see?
On the roof?
No, on the sidewalls.
No. Actually, what the vapor barrier is that is vapor barrier. What it is in Mexico is tar paper. But when constructing this in my garage, I didn't have tar paper. So
Okay.
that's technically a glad bag.
Got it.
Essentially, you put the wire up, then the tar paper, and that helps keep the stucco from pushing through, so you can get it to adhere to the chicken wire.
Great.
This will be my 6th year going to Mexico. Every year my kids wanted to go. My daughter got asked to go via Becky McKinney, and I told her, you're not going to Mexico, no way, you know, and because I didn't know anything about it. And I said, first of all, it's not safe. And they're like, no, it's safe. And I said, well, you're not going. I said, unless I can go. I said, if I can go with you so I can protect you, you know, that was my thought. And it was an amazing trip. After that, my son wanted to go because he saw how much fun and how the trip changed my daughter, and coming back and hearing about it. The younger siblings, it's easier and easier to get them to go. As far as safety aspect, that's what I was worried about, and that's what, after the first trip that I took, I've been explaining to parents since, is probably the safest trip that you can do as a mission that you know you would even think about. And most people don't think that going to Mexico is one of those options. We tell the parents probably the most unsafe part of the trip is getting through LA. You know, the freeways, you know, getting through LA. But as far as safety goes, when we're driving across the border and we get into Mexico in Tijuana, we're in white 15-passenger vans. That's what Amor sends every group that goes across the border to build in. So everybody that lives in Mexico knows what we're doing. When they see white vans, they pull over, they get out of the way, which in Mexico is a rare feat to get where you want to go and where you want to turn. But when they see the vans and they're in a caravan, you know, 6, 7, you know, 4, 5, 6, 7 vans at a time, they pull over, and every single person that's in a vehicle that sees you is waving. You know, all the little kids are waving. They know what we're there to do, and provide a safe environment for them and their families. Like I said, my son will be going for his 6th year, or fifth year, and he's going to be pretty much like an adult leader now. But watching him and my daughter grow on these trips is just amazing. The safety aspect, to me, I don't even think about it anymore, because I know, you know, we have a safe place to stay with the compound we camp at, and like I said, the homeowners that we're building for keep an eye out for everybody. You know, if we're in kind of a sketchy neighborhood, where last year every neighborhood or every house we were at had a gate that locked, and every morning they had to unlock the gate to let us in because there's a lot of theft in the area. But the homeowners don't let anything happen to the kids. They keep everybody, you know, safe, and the neighborhoods during the day, you know, are seriously welcoming. And it's an absolute awesome trip, and I look forward to going each year.
Cool.
And then my son Daniel will come up and tell you about how he liked it.
Yeah, I'm not doing
So I've gone for 5 years. This will be my 6th, and every year it's a new experience. You learn something different every year. My first year I was nervous. I really wanted to just kind of go and just like, I wanted to build the house myself almost, just kind of like, I wanted to do it, but I didn't know how. So the first year I was just with, I was right next to the site foreman, just the whole day, like all 4 days we were building, I was just right next to the site foreman. I wanted to learn everything. And I didn't spend much time with the kids my first year, so then the second year I was like, I want to spend time with the kids, you know, I was there for them, you know, for the family, and I wanted to spend time with the kids. So the second year is just all with the kids and everything. It was just, I learned a lot about myself and kind of like why we go. And anyway, it's just it's been a really fun trip every year, and just right now I probably could build it by myself, but you know, it's I'm gonna be an adult this year, so it's gonna be hard to kind of stand back and let the kids do it. But yeah, so I was just I'm really looking forward to this year. And, yeah.
That's good.
So, drop it. So last year was my first year going, and talk about an experience, both inside and out. I think two big things that I took away was, first of all, seeing people like Daniel, Kaylee. Actually, Travis's daughter, Kelsey, was our foreman on our site. She's great, but we had a good crew on our site in tough, challenging conditions. We're talking 100-degree weather. You're having to carry everything by hand. And in our situation, we had to drop it down about an 8-foot rubber tire foundation to get to the platform where we were putting our house. So just seeing the kids grow, overcome some really challenging situations and build a house for these families that usually don't have a place to stay and or don't have a door that locks, which is really, really important in Mexico. The other part of it is the families in Mexico. Getting to see these families at the very end of when you hand the keys, there's a key ceremony where you hand the keys to the family, and everybody gets emotional, of course. And, but the 94-year-old grandma, was she 94? The 94-year-old grandma was there, and she was, of course, we give her gifts, and she's out to here with gifts, and but she was very teary-eyed and gave a very emotional, very touching thank you message to us, and just saying that we were true gifts from God, and really the gift is us being allowed to do that. So, but it takes some effort to get there, and how do we get there? Well, everybody is responsible for basically paying their own way, and that includes the adults. We have a few fundraisers that we do. We have some car washes that we do. Probably the biggest fundraiser that we do toward the Mexican mission trip is our Valentine's Day dinner. It's a prime rib dinner. It's is it $20?
A suggested donation.
A suggested donation of $20. This year it's February 11th at CPC Church, and there's two settings, a 5 o'clock and a 7 o'clock setting. And we raised about $8,000 from that every year. It's a great meal, and some entertainment there as well, opportunities to give. But all the kids are involved in those fundraisers, and of course some of the adults that go are involved with that too. As I mentioned, as the weather improves, we'll have some car washes. Hopefully before May, if the snow melts. And then we also have, actually tomorrow, and there's some flyers. Michelle has some flyers up here. Mazatlan is a big supporter of what we do. They 3 or 4 times a year will donate, is it 50%? Or 50% of their gross receipts?
They give us $400 to $500 each setting,
yeah,
each time we do it.
So Mazatlan, tomorrow night, you just need to show up. I don't even think you need to say you're part of our group, but just show up for dinner, and then they donate a percentage of those gross receipts, not net, but gross receipts to our mission trip, which is great. The other thing we're doing this year is kids themselves, or people themselves, are reaching out to the community and asking for a sponsorship. They've written a personal letter, why the trip is important, what it means to them, and asking for contributions that way. And to get everybody down there, it's about $700 a person. We drive down there, so this includes our travel, our cost in Mexico, which I would say lodging, but we're in tents. But it does